In the last 15 years, Africa has shown up and shown out. To celebrate our 15th anniversary, we've been looking back at 15 of the most defining African moments and the people behind them that have opened up the continent to the world in the last 15 years. Over the last couple of weeks, we've shared these moments across music, film, innovation, activism, and sports. Now, we're bringing it all together. Let's start with the continent's biggest cultural export, our music. Nigerian pop star D'banj and then producer partner Don Jazzy teaming up with hip-hop legend Snoop Dogg on the Mr. Endowed remix made 2011 a turning point. That moment helped push Afrobeats further into the global spotlight, opening the doors for collaborations with some of the world's biggest artists and brands. Today, African music and Afrobeats are everywhere, with the Grammy wins and sold-out venues across continents to prove. And then there's Amapiano. That groovy, deep house sound born in South Africa. It quietly brewed in the early 2010s before exploding globally in 2020, offering joy and rhythm at a time when the world needed it the most. Like its music, African cinema stepped up in a major way in the last decade and a half. In 2019, French-Senegalese filmmaker Mati Diop made history when Atlantics won the Grand Prix at Cannes, thus continuing a legacy of the continent's rich film industry. African film stars like Kenyan actress Lupita Nyong'o also put the continent on the map by letting the whole world know it's not scarce for talent. When she won the Best Supporting Actress award at the 2014 Oscars, the moment opened doors for a new generation of African stars. Film also connected the continent and its diaspora in grand ways. Ryan Coogler's Black Panther presented the continent as powerful, resilient, and united, delivering a bold Pan-African vision that inspired pride among Black people everywhere. The Black Panther films also brought together African and diaspora creatives in fashion, design, music, and beyond. This was also around the time African creatives were changing the face of fashion and beauty. Beauty influencers like Jackie Aina, Naima Tang, and Dima Ume took on an industry that often ignored Black skin, and they won. Their work created community and changed. Meanwhile, African designers, models, photographers, and editors were letting the world know that we are ready to tell our stories and walk our talk. They weren't just taking up spaces, but building their own. And in sports, Africa's been ruling the game. It started big, with South Africa hosting the first ever Men's World Cup on African soil in 2010, a historic moment that declared Africa is ready. Since then, Kenyan athletics royalty Eliud Kipchoge became the first man to run a marathon in under 2 hours. Egypt's Mo Salah and Senegal's Sadio Mane have dominated European football. And in 2023, Côte d'Ivoire hosted a record-breaking AFCON, solidifying Africa's position as a global sports destination. But Africa's influence hasn't been limited to pop culture. Africa is in the knowledge and innovation business too. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's "We Should All Be Feminists" speech became a global touchstone. It was sampled by Beyoncé, featured in a Dior collection, and handed out in Swedish schools. And just like her earlier talk, The Danger of a Single Story, it presented an African perspective that could also resonate on a global scale. On the innovation front, Africa has led in many ways that many didn't see coming. Mobile money took off in the early 2010s after a successful rollout in Kenya 2 years before, and it transformed the continent. It laid the foundation for Africa's fintech boom, sparked the rise of tech hubs across the continent, and helped birth tech unicorns. Of course, the journey hasn't been without struggle. Africa, especially its youth, has fought and is still fighting for justice, freedom, and dignity. Sudan began its fight for independence after decades of discrimination and neglect, and is still on that journey to lasting peace. The Arab Spring in North Africa ushered in an era of digital activism that continues to reverberate across the continent. It provided a template for other protest movements like Fees Must Fall and End SARS, which brought some change for the people, even though not all the gains have endured. 15 years on, we're honoring the wins that made us jubilate, the challenges that refined us and pushed us forward, and the stories that demanded to be told. There's still so much to celebrate, so stay tuned. Head over to OkayAfrica.com/OkayAfrica15 to relive some of these moments.